Well, you know who Tim Brando is. Fox Sports, college football, college basketball, longtime voice around the SEC and on Fox Sports now. And Tim Brando joins us once again here on Ruskin and Zach on the Williams Tractor Hotline. Tim, how you doing, sir?
Hanging in there, fellas. Hope you're doing well.
We're doing well, too. Now, I think because we have seen over the last few months there is a void in leadership in particularly college football. And I remember listening to your old radio show talking about getting rid of the BCS way before the playoff came in. I think you should be the commissioner of college football, and I just want to know if you would be up for the challenge.
I appreciate the thought. I do. In fact, I just answered this of a gentleman on Twitter a moment ago. I'm not qualified, but I know the people that are. And I would be quick to recommend them. I would be quick to be hired as their campaign chairman if we turned it into a political race of any kind, since it's a political year. Oliver Luck would be my number one turn-to guy. He's connected. He's a past athletic director. He was a wonderful player, an administrator, did a tremendous job with the XFL. I mean, what happened with that league was not his fault. He did everything right. Had a position with no juice at the NCAA before he left for the XFL, and the reason he left the NCAA was because he knew he had no juice. The NCAA doesn't have juice when it comes to college football. Jurisdiction's simply not there, and when they do say something, it's it's vague and it's obvious, and it's insert foot in one's mouth, as Mark Emmert did again today.
Right.
So we need someone like an Oliver Luck working in conjunction with, not to take away any power from, but to consult and to coordinate all of the efforts that are being made, all of them great efforts, by the way, in my opinion, whether it's the Big Ten's approach or the SEC's approach, which seem to be the two big kahunas that other leagues are following. Pac-12 has always followed the Big Ten. I mean, as sure as the sun will set over the St. Gabriel's on New Year's Day, when a game other than the Rose Bowl really ought to be played instead of the Rose Bowl, we know the Pac-12 will follow the Big Ten. But the Big 12 and the ACC seem to be following the lead of the SEC as it relates to, the alternate plans that they're trying to make, how to fit a season in, hold on to some non-conference, if not all non-conference games, to try to protect their brethren of the Group of Five and the FCS, if and when possible, so they're not just turning their back on those games, which was what the Big Ten chose to do. There's nothing wrong with what the Big Ten did. They did what they felt their constituency needed to do, and I thought it was relatively predictable. In the past, they've done things like this, and they'll make good on the contractual situation with the MAC that had 12 games scheduled with them to make sure that the Mid-America Conference is taken care of, and for the most part will stay healthy financially. But, if we lose college football, whether they played in the spring or the fall, if you just said we do not play, okay, we're talking about an impact that would be so catastrophic. Intercollegiate athletics at the Division I level will never be the same. And I would suggest somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40% of Division I will be out of business. Out of business. And the schools, even at the Power 5 level, will see sharp cuts in their non-revenue producing sports, the likes of which you really never imagined. College baseball will be in peril because of its 11.5 scholarships, because of the travel that they sometimes incur, and because of Title IX constraints that are there. A lot of fans will not like that in places where it would be cut, but it would be cut. It would be one of the first of those sports that would be impacted. Now, as you know, in the SEC, that's a revenue-producing sport, just as hockey would be at some Big Ten locations like Minnesota. But, I mean, they have to find a way, okay, to do their best to get a season in. And what we're seeing now is major blowback coming not necessarily from the sports media, okay, but from the left-wing media mob. It's now taking aim at college football. And the reason is because college football doesn't have leadership. They don't have the kind of leadership that can stop that from taking place. The NBA is in good shape. We've seen what they've done with the bubble. The NFL, because of what Roger Goodell has recently done. The shields of professional football protect them against those that are ready to go after a particular sport. College football is under siege. It is under siege. And it is now that those that are in governance need to develop the thick skin, do what is necessary, and step forward with a plan. Okay, not just hope, but a plan to make sure that we understand how and why college football is going to work.
It feels like there's a power vacuum, a leadership vacuum that is sort of through this pandemic that has evolved between the conference commissioners and the NCAA. At the very least, if we reached a point where it's either time to say goodbye to the NCAA or reform it, and for these conferences, and I'm talking about the Group of Five and the Power Five conferences, to come together, and as we made the joke about a college football commissioner, but it feels like there needs to be somebody with one direction.
No. Listen, I've been talking about having a college football czar for probably 15 to 20 years. You made mention of the BCS and the BCS World in Crisis Countdown and what was wrong with intercollegiate athletics. I've been pounding the pavement about this long before we had any virus of any kind. But what has happened through the COVID-19 era that we've been in is it's become more noticeable to lay people outside necessarily of the inner workings of college sports to see, well, gee, why don't they have something done? Why am I hearing this from somewhere in the Big Ten? I'm hearing that from over here in the Pac-12. I'm hearing this from down in the SEC. Too many voices, too many chiefs, too much confusion, okay? Not stability, not uniformity, not the things that we've been calling for that we really need. And in times like these, you really need that. I thought the article today that Pat Forty and Ross Dellinger collaborated on in SI was really telling about yesterday's meeting, or it was a couple of days ago when the SEC had its meetings. This 8-2 plan, 8 conference games, 2 non-conference, 10-game season plan of theirs that they have on the table. And, that's a beautiful thought, and it's one that I think would really work in a lot of different conferences. And why doesn't it? Well, because no matter how much they can talk about collegiality, and, we're on Zoom conferences with our brethren out west and our brethren in the Midwest, the truth of the matter is power and control is a difficult thing to get rid of. And it seems that our biggest problem, not just in sports but in our country, is to, it's always got to be our idea, and if it's not our idea, then it's no good. If we had a coordinator that was in consultation with those in governance, listen, these are all well-intentioned, smart people that love college football. There's no doubt in my mind. I have personal relationships with all of the commissioners in college football. I know that they are well-meaning. But to get together and to decide in unison to do something, to this point, it's never happened. It's never happened in the span of 150 years of college football. So this is what we need. And this is no longer something to joke about. It's something that needs to be done. And I think coaches see it. I think athletic directors see it. But imagine if that plan that we were reading about in 40 column along with Ross Dellinger was something that had been put on the table and discussed with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. Might they have thought twice before making their announcement last week? Maybe. But none of this is happening, okay? The way college football is set up, its leadership infrastructure has always been about take care of your own. The Big Ten did what they felt they needed to do to take care of their own. They got an Indiana-Wisconsin game first week of the season, and you know what? By saying we're only going to play conference games, they don't have to worry about dealing with anyone. They can just say, hey, we're moving the games back from September 5th to September 19th because it's a conference game. We can take care of that. the Iowa State game, that's a bus ride, fellas.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a bus ride. And that game is not going to take place now. Really? Yet they're going to play Rutgers, and Nebraska's going to play at Rutgers?
Yeah.
Help me. Okay? What they do, well, the way college football works is we take care of our own constituencies with our own parameters, and that's that. Well, listen, we've got, college football being played in every corner of the country in every time zone, and there's a way to get these ideas, these concepts, these good thoughts in front of everyone that's in control of their region of the country and make it work for all.
Yeah.
And why that has never happened, I'll never understand. But if this pandemic hasn't taught all of us something, it's that's what college football desperately needs. Say what you want about the NBA, the NFL, MLS, and Major League Baseball, but they all have what? A plan.
Yep.
And we're now at the 11th and a half hour, and no one's hearing a plan. What I'm suggesting now is, whatever the plan is, these guys need to roll it out now. Otherwise, those holier-than-thous that love to take their shots and love to talk about exploitation of players that are unpaid, you're seeing it. All you have to do is go on social media, and you'll see it. Okay? The mob is there. They're ready to take down college football. So those that are in charge need to roll it out now and then talk to us about how they're going to implement their plan. Whatever it is, roll it out and implement it.
And we're talking with Tim Brando from Fox Sports here on Ruskin and Zach. And another thing that you talk about there is, and we've all seen the columns over the last few days about this isn't going to happen and on and on and on. And it just feeds into this public perception that the media doesn't want this to happen. And, I'm in the media, you're in the media. We want college football to happen. So, but it's interesting how it seems like there is a certain group, like you've said, that are rooting for the worst thing to happen all the time.
Well, I did. I went out of my way today, and when I posted what I did in 140 characters, I basically said what I just said to you about what's out there. The media outside the realm of sports wants everything to shut down. Okay, the media outside of sports basically wants it all shut, and college football included. If the economy is devastated in Fayetteville, Starkville, you name the ville or the burg that has a college town, I think they want it shut down. Okay? I'm not suggesting to you that sports media really wants that. But there's a segment of sports media that has a political lean to the left. I think we'd all concur with that fact. And so they are, to some extent, they're going to be affected by what they read from the news media. Okay, that does see college football as something that could be attacked and should be attacked right now. And there's really no defense mechanism for it. Listen, has the NCAA been the international, the national, maybe even international whipping boy of sports in your lifetime? Certainly has been in mine. Mm-hmm. So, they're taking hits for college football, and they haven't had jurisdiction over college football since 1984. These people that are they don't even know about the Supreme Court lawsuit that took place in 1984 by the universities of Georgia and Oklahoma. That's why college football went to cable television in the mid-'80s, and I had a job to go to in Connecticut from Baton Rouge. They don't know. These clowns going after college football that are outside the realm of sports media don't know jack about squat about college sports, but they want it shut down because they know there's not going to be a bat phone ringing from the commissioner of college football like there would be from the commissioner of the NFL or the commissioner of the NBA or the commissioner of MLB. If you have no leadership, then you're easily attacked. And college football has been shown does not have universal leadership. So they have no defense mechanism, no public relations aid to help them fight off that kind of attack. And it's taking place. And it's only going to get worse between now and the time, whatever the plan is, these programs have at the colleges, whether it's the Big 12 or the SEC or the ACC. I believe all three of those are communicating with one another. I really believe that, and communicating strongly. I just suggest that they roll it out as quickly as they can so that we have some understanding. Otherwise, they're going to be a pincushion for these guys.
The athletic directors can make all the decisions they want, but it's not going to matter until the university presidents get in and start voting on this. Is there an element, in your opinion, that some of these presidents may get some of their power back and not be pushed around by athletics directors?
Well, also though, let's be clear now. These presidents, many of them, have backgrounds from where? Ivy League programs, Ivy League schools, and they are the ones most affected by those that are taking their shots in the media about exploitation. They are the ones that are going to be, oh my God, do we want, what if someone gets really sick and something really bad happens? It's more likely to be presidents than anyone else. Remember, the commissioners do serve at the pleasure. The commissioners of college football, who really do carry the big stick, they serve at the pleasure of the college presidents. I do think in most cases, particularly at the conferences we're talking about, the three other than the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, I think that, and even the Big Ten presidents, I really believe want to see football. I really do. And I think in their minds, by doing what they did last week, they felt like they bought some time to get themselves organized so they could roll something out that they believed would have a better chance of not hammered by those in the media that are always going to come after them. There was nothing wrong with what the Big Ten did. It was just, however, in keeping of, sadly, college football's tradition of not being unison, not being uniform. But I understood why they did what they did. I really did.
Tim Brando, Fox Sports, our guest here on Ruskin and Zach. We all agree the worst case is no games. Is the next worst case if they start a season and then have to stop because of an outbreak somewhere?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why this thought process is about maybe altering the schedules to some extent. By example, the Big Ten, I think, by making its statement last week, is saying, you know what, we only want to play those that we understand are using the same medical protocol that we are. And we're not sure that those in non-conference that we have scheduled will do that. So we have to protect, the public health and safety of our student athletes is, our priority. Similar situation, I think, here with regard to this 8-2 rollout, 8 conference, 2 non-conference, not 12 but 10 regular season games. The potential of being able to play with that schedule a little bit that you control, so that maybe you don't have to have your guys recover and play in 1 week every week. The potential of let's say, for instance, if you started on September the 5th with a few games, but you only had 10 to play, you got a few weeks to work with. Or you could say, you know what, we're going to give time because all the numbers are spiking now. And the interesting thing is it doesn't seem to matter what happens other than the numbers spiking. No one cares about what happens to those that have gone through the protocol and have been put back. All we hear is just the numbers are elevating, and that's understandable. It goes on. I get that. But if you want to move the season back, you can very easily. College football, because it's such a short season, could be moved back, as far back as 3 weeks and still be done by the 1st of December. That could easily happen. So you protect the championship Saturdays, which, by the way, are important to the big leagues. The Big Ten wants to, and so does the SEC, wants to get their conference title games in. It's a moneymaker for them. So that 3 week window, whether it's used up early and everything gets moved back from Labor Day weekend to September 19th or further, or if they start early, they build in some spots where they can take time off because of the circumstances in this particular part of the country where games are going to be played versus where the games are going to be played in weeks prior to that. So there's some wiggle room there. Look, the sand in the hourglass is slipping away, but time is still, even now, time is still the ally. The calendar is still the ally of college football.
Tim Brando, Fox Sports, with us here on Ruskin and Zach. Thank you so much, sir. We always appreciate the time.
Happy to be with both of you anytime.
All right, Tim Brando and all our guests join us here on the Williams Tractor Hotline on
always
Ruskin
goes
and
by
Zach.
way too
I mean,
fast.
we could
Way
do 2 hours with him.
Absolutely.
We got to get him in here. We got to get Fox Sports to get the SEC so we can get him in here.
We get him in here.
We got to get him back to Fayetteville.